Perhaps the most photogenic railroad in the country is one of the least known. The Monongahela Railway, located in southwestern Pennsylvania and northern West Virginia, provides enough train action to satisfy the desires of almost any fan. Huge coal trains of up to 140 cars, with as many as 6 six-axle locomotives, run 24 hours a day. About 70% of the trains loaded on the West Division utilize Conrail routing out of West Brownsville. Most of these trains carry Conrail hoppers. Both MGA and Conrail power can be found heading these trains on the Monongahela. Pittsburgh and Lake Erie trains also run on this west line. Although operation of the P&LE trains is sporadic, at least 2 trains run each week. Wisconsin Electric also runs over the line, with rotary gondolas marked with WEPX. Blended coal is hauled from 2 mines. The Bailey and the Blacksville No. 2 mine supply the loads to each rotary gondola. A ratio of about 4,000 tons from the Blacksville No. 2 mine and 6,000 tons from the Bailey mine. This blending provides some unique operations over the line, as trains transverse between mines before leaving the railroad. Rail fans will find the WEPX trains headed by MGA, CMW, or CSX equipment. Detroit Edison also runs trains on the West Division. Rotary gondolas are marked DEEX. These trains load at the Bailey Mine on the Manor Branch. Motive power is labeled with a DE. The Somerset Railway, with reporting marks of SOM, also runs on the line. These trains are from New York Electric and Gas. Locomotive power is supplied by Conrail, Chicago and Northwestern, and Chessie. Pittsburgh and Lake Erie, CSX Transportation, and Detroit Edison. Brownsville is the northern terminus of the Monongahela Railway. The MGA engine facilities are located at South Brownsville, and operations of the railroad are located in the Union Station building in downtown Brownsville. Here we catch Conrail slowing to a stop in Conrail's West Brownsville yard so it can be recrewed. Our first train is captured running down the middle of Main Street in West Brownsville. A DEEX train heads down Main Street. The train barely missed the tree trimming truck on the right. Helpers in the middle and a long coal train are not unusual in this town, perhaps the only place in the country where such a scene occurs with such long trains. Bess is located south of West Brownsville. Bess is the railroad's abbreviation for the town of Besco. This is train MGA 2310. The Monongahela Railway uses the number of the lead locomotive to identify the train. A Conrail SD50, number 6809, has come from the Bailey Mine. It is heading northbound at milepost T0. 2 MGA helpers are located on the rear of the train. Pulling 140 loads, a Detroit Edison train makes an appearance at milepost T40. MGA's 2307 and 2301 are on the point. Most trains take 4 hours to load, but the Detroit Edison train takes 5.5 hours due to the length and 125-ton capacity of these specially designed rotary gondolas. The remote control units are usually cut in at 85 cars back. This train may show up 2 to 3 times a week, but it could be absent for as long as 10 days. Here the same train makes an appearance at Matt. Matt is the railroad's abbreviation for the town of Mather. At ARC, the abbreviation for the north end of the Clarksville double main, another DEEX train patiently waits for southbound Conrail 6847. The 6847 is an SD60. We're at milepost T2.6. Once the caboose has cleared the switch, the Detroit Edison train heads northbound. We are still at ARC, and southbound MGA 2302 soon makes an appearance with an empty coal train from New Hampshire Public Service. Conrail 6796 comes to a stop at ARC. The train waits for Conrail 6736, headed by an SD50 to clear southbound. Returning from the Bailey Mine, a P&LE train heads north just south of Clarksville on the 1.4-mile section of double-track main line. The Clarksville overpass frames southbound Conrail 6849 and SD 60. This is a Somerset, New York, empty coal train. Conrail 6736 drifts around a curve at the Greene County Fairgrounds. The train is heading southbound. A southbound WEPX coal train led by Chicago and Northwestern 6810 and SD 40-2 is in the hole at Gate. 2 Conrail trains will clear the other track before the southbound can get the go-ahead. Gate is the railroad's name for the south entrance to the Clarksville double main. Headed by 6378, the second train heads past the WEPX train. The WEPX coal train finally gets its clearance. Next, MGA 2306 heads northbound at Gate. And at the same location, MGA 2307 heads southbound a few minutes later. Just south of Gate, southbound Conrail 6066 was caught at milepost T4. Only 3/10 of a mile away from the last location, Steve's camera caught Conrail 6073 heading northbound. This long passing track is the only passing location between West Brownsville and Waynesburg. An SD 40-2 Conrail 6438 leads a northbound loaded train at milepost T4, just south of Gate. A former Rock Island loco, now running with P&LE designation, leads an empty coal train at the same location. This engine is a GP 38-2. Near the Pennsylvania State Route 188 overpass, we catch southbound 6066. Southbound MGA 2302 makes an appearance at Matt. The talking defective equipment detector is located near the old station at Mather. At home, the railroad's abbreviation for Homeville, two General Electric -840 CWs head a train southbound. Chicago and Northwestern number 6810 heads a southbound at Waynesburg. The Waynesburg Southern branch begins here, and just down the line at Manor Junction, the Manor branch begins. Steve's camera caught Conrail number 6808 and SD 50, southbound at Waynesburg. The train went into emergency here due to a kicker in the brake system. After pumping the air back up, the train proceeded southbound. The Conrail train is moving slowly into the Emerald Mine passing siding to wait for MGA number 2309. 2-840 CWs tail behind the 2309. A P&LE train heads down from the Bailey Mine. It has just come off the Manor Branch and is heading northbound by the Waynesburg station. We are now on the Manor Branch. The WEPX train has entered the branch line after receiving a partial load at the Blacksville No. 2 mine. 2 MGA pushers have been added since this train is now partly full. The P&LE train we saw earlier at the Waynesburg station now makes an appearance crossing Route 18 near the Emerald Mine complex just south of Waynesburg. The mines served by the Monongahela all use flood loading. Only the Bailey Mine and the Blacksville No. 2 mine have balloon loops. The other mines have passing tracks with a runaround required before or after loading. This mine opened in 1977. Emerald is now owned by a Japanese concern. A Detroit Edison train with 140 loads heads past milepost M2 on the Manor Branch. At milepost 10.6, Steve caught MGA units number 2308 and number 2303 and 3 P&LE units. Generally empty trains going to Bailey Mine have the helpers on the point. The MGA units will serve as helpers later. Returning loaded is another matter. The helper units are taken off the point and added to the rear. This cuts down on knuckle and drawbar failures. Here is another Detroit Edison train, this one at the summit on the Manor Branch. The grade here reaches 0.956% and is a tough one for this monster 140-car train. Conrail number 6428 and SD 40-2 brings a load from the Bailey Mine. MGA helpers 2310 and 2303 bring up the rear. A Wisconsin electric train headed by CSX and CNNW Power was caught at Manor Summit, heading towards the Bailey Mine. The CSX unit on the point is a GP40. The steepness of the grade is quite evident in this telephoto shot. A WEPX coal train heads over the summit. This train will go on to the Bailey Mine to finish loading. This layer loading allows the electric company to custom blend the coal. The Bailey Mine is located at the end of the Manor Branch. Next, we catch Conrail number 6809 pulling loads from the mine and assisted by 2 MGA helpers. Eve Cut is located south of Manor Junction. Building this cut required removing 300,000 cubic yards of soil and rock. Here we see CNNW number 6810 as it heads southbound. We are now on the Waynesburg Southern Branch. Conrail number 6736 makes an appearance at Eve Cut. West Green High School is located between Holbrook and Rogersville. From the school property, we catch southbound MGA 2302. At milepost W4, southbound Conrail number 6066 heads through the rugged Pennsylvania countryside. The vista afforded photographers is not one to be passed up. MGA number 2300 heads north through Rogersville Cut at milepost W6.5. This is the largest cut on the Waynesburg Southern. 480,000 cubic yards of rock and soil were removed to build this cut. The chasm is 165 foot deep. Here a northbound MGA, number 2310, heads a train at Rogersville. At milepost W8.5, a southbound Conrail, number 6066, makes an appearance. This is another picturesque location not to be missed. 2-840CWs lead a train at milepost W13.5. Generally, speed limits on the entire MGA line are restricted to 20 to 25 miles per hour. White Cottage Tunnel is another great photo vantage point. Here, northbound MGA 2310 emerges from the tunnel. Emerging from the north portal of the White Cottage Tunnel is MGA 2302. Before this line was constructed, the railroad had a choice to tunnel or dig a cut 250 foot high. Since the rock formations were not as solid as other parts of the line, the decision was made to tunnel instead of cut. The construction cost $1.7 million. MGA 2302 sits in the passing siding, awaiting southbound 2304. We are at Wood, the railroad's abbreviation for Woodruff, the northeast end of White Cottage siding. MGA number 2306 heads northbound across Buzz Trestle. This is another great train photographic area. Led by CSX 8164, a WEPX train was caught by the camera at milepost W15, just south of Buzz. Pine Bank is another great trestle location. Here we catch northbound MGA 2310. Next, Conrail 6849 crosses the trestle heading southbound. C and NW number 6810 heads southbound over Pine Bank Trestle. Southbound MGA 2302 meets a northbound MGA train at Wanna Junction. The northbound train on the left has just finished loading at Blacksville No. 2 mine, located on the Wanna Industrial Track. Just south of Wanna, Steve's camera caught MGA 2306 heading southbound. Two 840 CWs arrive with a train at the Blacksville No. 2 mine. The train is entering the balloon track. The train will pull all the cars through for inspection. Then the train will back through the balloon track for loading. Here, the train pulls out of the balloon track. Now inspected, the train will back under the loader. You'll see what looks like two trains here, but the caboose is in reality connected to the same train. We next catch northbound MGA number 2306 at Brave Cut. 220,000 cubic yards of rock and soil were removed to build this cut. Here we see the same train on the Miracle Run branch. We are now in West Virginia. At the same location, we catch P&LE 2029. 2029 is a GP 38. Conrail number 6021, a C39-8, heads a southbound train near the Federal number 2 mine. Photographers can get good views of the Federal number 2 mine and some train action as well. Here we see the same train pulling empties through the mine. This train will then be broken up into 2 smaller cuts. The Monongahela is a rail fan's dream come true. It has great action, is highly photogenic, and definitely is worth following through the picturesque Pennsylvania and West Virginia countryside.